Now, the situation is escalating massively, and I don't mean that the SWAT team in Bremen can't be deployed anymore due to lack of funds, and I also don't mean that air rescue here in Germany has to be stopped because it can no longer be financed. I mean that Lars Klingbeil has staged a public attack on the CDU. Among other things, there are rumors that the 5% threshold in elections is to be abolished in order to strengthen their democracy. It didn't take long for that to happen, and I'm telling you, the situation is exploding, just like, for example, now with public broadcasting in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern.
We will continue on this path. Once again, we're extending a hand. The goal must be that we don't get bogged down in petty details, but that we quickly send a signal to the citizens.
What Welt conveniently cut out there was, among other things, that there had already been some tough arguments and now something urgently needs to be done for the citizens so that the citizens can breathe a sigh of relief again. Among other things, in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, and no, I'm not kidding you, not just about the 5% threshold, but also that at the same time a complete gas power plant, which we urgently need, is simply being given away to Ukraine. And there was actually a scandal, which is now even being reported by public broadcasting. Yes, they really got an earful, but I'll talk a bit more about that later. By the way, I absolutely had to record this video for you this morning. You can see this isn't really the outfit I usually wear when making videos, but if you'd like to support this channel, I'd really appreciate a like and a subscription. That would mean so much to me.
Working German energy technology for Ukraine really drives the AfD up the wall.
No, that's something that now really drives a lot of Germans up the wall. Why does it do that? Because we don't understand it anymore. There are no relief measures for us. Relief measures that we desperately need in order to keep living here are simply not being provided. Even Markus Söder himself said at first he was in favor, now he's against it because it doesn't help anyone. Although I still have to say it's actually good that those 1,000 euros weren't paid out because that would have depressed even more people here. But at the same time, gas power plants are simply being given away. By the way, what this has to do with the topic is that it's the next attack on this population. At the same time, several media outlets are now reporting that in Saxony and Saxony-Anhalt, they urgently want to abolish the 5% threshold. There was a court ruling some time ago that said this is no longer constitutional. And that's exactly what they now want to urgently implement in Saxony-Anhalt. Because there are rumors that the SPD might fail to clear the 5% threshold. Which of course makes the CDU very upset, including Schulz in Saxony-Anhalt.
I seriously wonder how they're supposed to explain that to their own people. Who is this federal government actually making policy for? Apparently not for their own country anymore.
And even when it came to the vote on the AfD's motion to keep the CHP plant in Lubmin, all the other parliamentary groups except them said no.
That reflects exactly what I found out over the weekend. As soon as a motion is submitted that is so urgent for this population, just because it's submitted by the AfD, the whole thing can't work, the whole thing won't be pushed through, except when it's at the district level, things look a little different there. But the big problem we have here is that they're not even filling the gas storage facilities. We have gas storage levels here in Germany of 27%, while the gas consumption we have at the moment is just dropping drastically. They're not even filling the gas storage facilities. Apparently, they really want to destroy this country just to leave nothing but scorched earth behind. And now listen to Markus Söder, who just thinks to himself, should he drill? Yeah, sounds good. And then when it comes to the vote, oh no, I can't save face in front of the public.
Vote there! gewesen wäre the public.
We've already explained Söder's flip-flop in Bavaria. He first agreed, but in the end he didn't raise his hand.
And this very income tax reform will become a huge disaster. Why? They haven't agreed on any points at all. No matter who you ask, there is no line, there is no structure. However, it is now being whispered from the back rooms of the SPD that it would be better to break up this coalition. Because they say you have to make sure that maybe next time you still get an acceptable result. We're no longer talking about the SPD maybe winning elections at some point, but only about whether there are still acceptable results. That aren't just also RANs, just so they don't lose the federal states anymore. Because now people in the SPD have realized, and hold on tight, that the federal SPD is causing so much damage in the state parliaments. You really have to take that in. Well, that's information we've been discussing here on this channel for over 3 years now, that the federal SPD has completely gone off track. At the same time, the Berlin SPD has connections to Islamists, which has also come out. And well, you can't count on the Greens anymore either. Wait, let me quickly play you something. Even I didn't know about this until Kolya shared it this morning.
But also because we need people here who are at home in our social systems and who can feel at home here.
Yes, and Germans are supposed to keep working so that people who come here can feel comfortable in our social systems while they themselves can't even get accommodation anymore. We have 83.5 million people living here in Germany. I know the Chancellor doesn't know how many inhabitants Germany has. But there are still 1.5 million apartments missing, and people are supposed to be welcome to come here to immigrate here for our welfare system so that you out there can keep working hard for people to live an easy life. Who are too lazy, what exactly do we need them for? And this is exactly where the SPD comes in again, saying, okay, if we can get the Greens on board and then make this one-to-one deal so that every party is equal no matter how many votes they have, then you can easily outvote the CDU. And that's exactly why Lars Klingbeil is now trying everything to make this coalition fail. Because you can't work together with the AfD, and you know exactly what would happen if you did. If you even got close to them with a vote, you would destroy this country because that's what they want to hide. What they've done to you since 2020 in 7 years of crisis, how they've managed things, how they've given away money, and how they've undermined the institutions. That's exactly why Lars Klingbeil and Bärbel Bas will do everything to corner Friedrich Merz, because he has no exit strategy. He wanted to become Chancellor. If the SPD has its way, however, he will be the shortest serving Chancellor in history with a completely ruined party. Or he does what the SPD says. In all other cases, goodbye, Friedrich Merz, minority government, yes, then we will terrorize this country. As I said, you noticed it with Saskia Esken when she wanted to restrict Ben Unscripted's media, or rather his advertising. And, well, after advertisers spoke up and said, no, we definitely want to talk to everyone from left to right, and even criminals like that,